A bad game review keeps another copy on the shelf. Sometimes by letting people know the truth, others can be spared, and maybe game developers will know what we want as gamers. It's the code us game reviewers live by. Well then, this is perfect. We have the perfect mission for you. My request is simple, but I have to know, will you accept? Will I accept? All I can say is, let's dance!
Metal Gear Rising is a game that has a lot of history to it. It was originally announced alongside Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker as Metal Gear Solid Rising, implying it was supposed to be part of the main series. However, Kojima went to focus more on Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and left the new team to develop this Metal Gear Solid Rising title. Hideo Kojima even went as far in an interview to say that Metal Gear Solid Rising and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker would comprise the Metal Gear Solid 5 experience. Peace Walker eventually came out, and Metal Gear Solid Rising has not seen any news since its original E3 trailer. Hideo Kojima actually cancelled the project outright, and then gave it to Platinum Games, creators of Bayonetta. Taking out all the stealth elements that Metal Gear Solid Rising was supposed to have, they turned it into a full-on action game, completely changing the story, setting, and characters. They even went as far as to take out the Metal Gear Solid in the title, just changing it to Metal Gear Rising. How does it fare up? This is what we're here to find out. This is Metal Gear Rising: Revengence. It's the year 2018, 4 years after the Patriots fell in Metal Gear Solid 4. Snake's nowhere to be seen, so instead we're left in the middle of Africa with Raiden. Despite Raiden's ending in Metal Gear Solid 4 implying that he's giving up fighting to be with his goddamn family, we see him in the middle of the battlefield once again protecting Namani. However, there are some people who don't like that, so what do? They fuck everything up. This enemy PMC, called Desperado, aims to re-establish the war economy.
Give war a chance!
After failing to protect the president, losing his arm for a third time, and losing his goddamn eye against another cyborg ninja named Sam, Raiden dons enhancements, vowing to stop Desperado in anything they try to do. Through this, he meets many wonderful characters such as Blade Wolf. As Raiden moves closer, he finds out more and more about the actions of Desperado and their true intentions from their parent company, World Marshal. It's up to Raiden to stop Desperado and World Marshal from succeeding in their plans. And this is all I'm gonna say on the matter because I want to avoid spoilers. I'm gonna be honest with you, I love this story. And I'm just gonna plain out say this. Compared to the rest of the Metal Gear Solid series, this game has the weakest story. The Metal Gear Solid series has always founded itself on its characters, the emotions, and the story. That's what made the games not only a video game, but an experience. Every person in the Metal Gear Solid series is given a story. They leave it up to you whether you like them, love them, or hate them, whether you regret killing them or felt it was necessary. But I'm gonna tell you right now, tell me, who the fuck is this? Tell me, who is he? Why is he important? Tell me one fucking thing he did. He shows up and dies. Tell me, who is she? Who is she? We just killed— oh, she has boobs. It's okay, guys. There are only 3 characters in this entire story I feel get any development. Raiden, Blade Wolf, and Sam. These are the only characters I ended up caring about. Most of the bosses that you meet only show up moments before you end up murdering them. If you can tell me Monsoon's story just from the cutscenes, I will love you. But these 3 characters are the only characters I see change throughout the story. They're the only ones I get invested in. Kevin, Boris, Courtney. Tell me, what are their points in the story other than to tell Ryan that he's doing something wrong? Courtney could have easily been replaced with Rose, and I think that would have made the story that much stronger. Speaking of Rose, where is she? At the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, we see Raiden accept his family. Raiden's entire motivation for the entire series was to get back with Rose. They get pushed aside to a single line of dialogue.
And your wife and son? What of them?
They're in New Zealand. Safe. Rose would understand why I have to do this.
Platinum Games really missed the chance with these characters, and it's actually kinda sad. But let me also say this. Many of the things that I'm complaining about right now are in the game. They're just not through the basic playing of the game. Like most of the Metal Gear Solid titles, there is a codex system. And honestly, this is where all the development happens. We learn about who Courtney is, we learn about who Kevin is, we learn about who Boris is, we even learn what happened to Otacon and Snake. But where they fit the slower, stealthier pace of Metal Gear Solid, for a high intense action game like Metal Gear Rising, these codecs are long, drawn out, and boring. Only when Rising does not have my full attention do I even listen to the codex, which is honestly quite sad. Many of the questions that I have given the story are easily answered in the codex system. If you were listening to what I said earlier, I did say that this is the weakest story I feel of the games of the Metal Gear Solid series. If you look at any other game within this genre, Metal Gear Rising easily has the best story. Despite being a lot weaker than the other Metal Gear Solid titles, Metal Gear Rising on its own is fan-fucking-tastic a story. It does not hold a candle to the other games in the series, but on its own it is still amazing, still fun and action-packed, and still great in its own right. It greatly beats out the likes of Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. And this is a genre that's usually puts story second to spectacle. It manages to do both in its cutscenes while still providing an excellent narrative. So overall, I feel the story is great. While many of the characters are not developed in story, if you catch yourself making a snack while playing Rising, just listen to the codex. I promise you, this will be the best way to get full 100% of the game. That, and it's an achievement to listen to as many of the codecs as you can, so for you achievement whores... While Metal Gear Solid Rising was supposed to be the very first game on the Fox engine, when it moved to Platinum Games, they changed the engine to one of their own in-house engines. The main component of this engine that needs to be praised is the cutting. Almost everything in this game is cuttable. People praise Battlefield 3 and Frostbite 2 for what it does in destructible environments, but I think that doesn't hold a candle in Metal Gear Rising. Why? Because Metal Gear Rising lets you get precise. If you cut it at exactly a certain angle, physics take the rest. One of my favorite things to do is cut a single object into as many pieces as I can, just listening my processor cry out in shame and watching the game lag. That was very masochistic of me. The game is also very beautiful. While I still don't think it's as beautiful as the Fox engine, I still think it looks fan-frickin-tastic. Another thing that deserves praise are the cutscenes and the direction. We also what Raiden could do in Metal Gear Solid 4, and you know the instant he did it, you just want to go, I want to do that! Well, that's Rising in a nutshell, only jacked up ×3. And despite all the craziness that occurred, it all still fits well into the Metal Gear Solid universe. This is the first look we get of a post-Patriots world. And the game really emphasizes that.
Business ain't been the same since they shut down SOP.
The CG artists, the animators, and everyone else involved in the animations and cutscenes deserve so much praise. Other people I have to praise are the voice actors. Quentin Flynn has always been one of my favorite voice actors, and even in this game, he does Raiden beautifully.
Pain. This is why I fight. This is my normal, my nature.
Everyone else does a fantastic job, especially the voice actor of Sam. He pulls off the Puerto Rican side of this character perfectly. Yeah, Jake, what's up? He's not Brazilian. Give me a sec, guys.
Minuano, the cool Brazilian wind.
AKA Jetstream Sam.
No! No! Everything about Sam is wrong. The voice actor of Sam is Philip Anthony Rodriguez. What does he say? And he claims to have given the character a Puerto Rican accent to get him more in touch with his Latin American roots. Bro, did you even look at a map? Right here we see Puerto freaking Rico. It's a territory to the United States of America. You could have just, I don't know, used a freaking Brazilian accent or anything in this continent, that would have been at least less offensive to a Brazilian. I've grown up around Brazilian accents my entire life. It's not that hard to fake. Despite completely raping everything that we stand for, he still does a freaking good job, as does every single voice actor in this game. And the voice acting is not the only thing that deserves praise. Another major thing that does is the music. The music in this game is done by Jamie Christopherson. He creates this amazing, fast-paced, rock electronic style song. Every single boss you encounter has their own theme music, lyrics and all. And honestly, it just adds so much to the game. I'm being honest right now, these songs are on my iPod. I listen to them regularly. Hell, I'm probably listening to the soundtrack while I'm editing this video. The lyrics of the themes match the characters perfectly, and honestly they give more backstory and personality than the actual cutscenes do. I think I learned more about Mistral from The Stranger I Remain than her actual dialogue. I cannot praise Jamie Christopherson enough for his job on this game. The instant I beat this game, the first thing I did was buy the soundtrack because I just could not live without it. This man does such an amazing job of bringing the action and fast pace together. I just don't understand why I haven't heard of him from a past game. I wonder what else he's done. Son of a fuck! So yeah, all I can say is nothing but praise to the programmers of this game as well as everyone involved with the music. Anyone working on this game deserves such a pat on the back and probably a raise for everything they did. But can someone on the team please give Philip Anthony Rodriguez a fucking Atlas? So far everything about this game is fantastic. But what about the actual game? Rather than the stealthy approach to action that the Metal Gear Solid series is famous for, this game takes a way more direct approach. And by direct approach, I mean this. Wouldn't catch Snake doing that, would you? Metal Gear Rising is a full-on hack and slash title, much different than the other Metal Gear Solid games. Raiden's method of attack is his sword. With your sword, you can perform both light and heavy attacks, and even form different combos depending on the way you go. But the main selling point of this is one innovation that completely blows my mind on how fantastic it is. Blade Mode. Blade Mode, it turns the camera into a third-person perspective and allows you to precision cut your foes. Blade Mode not only becomes the best way to interact with the environment, but the best way to end off characters' lives. Almost every boss encounter just gives you the chance to cut them into a billion pieces so that they are brutally murdered, and it is possibly one of the funnest things to do in this game. But Blade Mode doesn't only have to be used to kill off bosses, they can also be used to kill off regular enemies, and hell is encouraged to do that. Every enemy in this game has a little repair nanopaste within them. By using Blade Mode, you can activate a little thing called Zandatsu, and this is possibly one of the best feelings ever I've gotten in a game. Like every game you have health, but in this game you also have fuel cells which represent your energy. With full fuel cells you can do something called Ripper Mode, which greatly increases your power to the point where you can just cut things with the regular attacks. You can also use it to slow down time during Blade Mode, allowing you to have more time to do precision strikes and cuts. Using Blade Mode, you can precision cut an enemy on a little square on their body, which allows you to literally take their spine and gives you full health and fuel cells. While to some this can make the game a little bit too easy since every enemy gives you the chance to replenish your health fully, I still think it's a fantastic game, and trust me, it can be harder than it seems to pull off a Zandatsu perfectly. There are also plenty of VR missions that add extra challenges for the game. However, most of these are boring and out of the way, so you probably won't end up doing them. The boss fights are where this game absolutely shine. Not only do the individual musical tracks help bring the boss's badassery up, but the actual fights are multi-tiered, multi-layered, and it just makes the entire game more fun. There is not a single boss that I cannot recommend playing through, and my absolute favorite is the final boss. I don't want to spoil it, you just need to get to the end, because the final boss is possibly one of the coolest people in gaming history, despite only getting so little screen time, as well as being possibly one of the most fun final boss battles I have ever done. I didn't even bother capturing it, knowing that I'd probably spoil it for you guys. But every single boss fight here is unique, each one of them is fun. There's not a single boss fight that I dreaded playing. All of them are just great in their own right, and each of them are original as hell. This gameplay is just phenomenal! So this is the first game I reviewed that actually has DLC for it. Okay, let me rephrase that. Has DLC worth a shit? That's what I thought. There are two major packs of DLC for this game. Jetstream DLC and Blade Wolf DLC. And all I can say is never have I seen a game do DLC so wrong and then so right. Let me explain what I mean. The Jetstream DLC takes place before Sam joins Desperado. It stars him in Denver trying to take out World Marshal. What the DLC promised was the chance to play as Sam, as well as a chance why such an honorable character joins up with such a shady thing that goes against everything he believes in. And boy, does that fail. The whole DLCs will take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to complete. And throughout the entire thing, nowhere do I ever see a change in Sam's character. Gameplay-wise, he also differs from Raiden. He moves and attacks a lot slower, but packs a lot more of a punch. He has the ability to taunt his enemies, which automatically puts them into a weakened state. However, they're much more aggressive and their attacks hurt a lot more. I barely use this, and he doesn't differ that greatly from Raiden. Sure, he has a lot less combos and may not be as speedy, but at its core, it's still fight an enemy, Zandatsu them, and move on to the next fight. Every single boss in this DLC is also reused. Like I said, the bosses were probably the best part of Metal Gear Rising, but to refight the same bosses again just as a different character just seems lazy. This DLC's price tag goes for $10 for 2 hours worth of content. We don't even get the chance to play as Sam in the regular Rising story mode. He's contained solely to this DLC. I cannot really recommend this DLC unless you really need more out of Rising. And even then, there's a better DLC for that. Because the other DLC is the Blade Wolf DLC. It's another prequel about his training before he meets up with Raiden. Everything that Sam did wrong, Blade Wolf did right. While Sam didn't really differ at all to his fighting style compared to Raiden, Blade Wolf completely changes it up, and I don't mean for the obvious doggy reasons. The core of this DLC is not to just get into every fight you can, but instead to avoid every fight you can. It takes the Metal Gear part of this game and really shoves it in your face. While Sam was built much more of a tank, being able to take more hits and deal more damage, Blade Wolf is a lot weaker and more frail. The entire game is based around this idea of stealth. He can still Zandatsu his enemies, but it's better not to approach them directly in combat. It's better to stealth kill them and go through, or else you will get overwhelmed and die, much like a regular Metal Gear Solid game. And within the story, we also see a lot more of Blade Wolf developing. He actually has a story arc and a character arc. And the DLC is not any longer or any shorter than the Sam DLC. It's about the same length. Not only do we get a brand new approach to the gameplay, we get a brand new boss that takes advantage of this new approach to gameplay. That, and it's cheaper than the Sam DLC. If you're a Metal Gear Rising fan, I can completely understand not touching the Jetstream DLC. But the Blade Wolf DLC, I would highly recommend it to any fan of Metal Gear Rising. Oh yeah, and there's downloadable content for VR missions, but like I said, VR missions are the most boring part of the game, so I don't understand why you want to pay money for it. So yeah, overall, avoid Jetstream and completely go for Blade Wolf.
Thank you.
That giant intellect.
This game lives up completely to the hype that precedes it. I'm gonna be honest, I am a huge Metal Gear Solid fan through and through. There's not a single game that carries the Metal Gear title that I do not like. Even during the original unveiling of this game as Metal Gear Solid Rising, I still stood by it because I was excited as hell for it. Even when the game switched developers, I was still completely for it, and I still believed that the game would still be fantastic. And I think my trust was well placed. Platinum Games does a fantastic job keeping the game grounded into the Metal Gear Solid universe, while still being able to put their own creative spin on it. A lot of people will claim that this is just Metal Gear Bayonetta, but it's really not. It's so much different and so innovative toward the genre. The story itself is probably one of the best stories within the hack and slash genre, and above that, the engine itself is revolutionary. Just how much detail goes into every object that was put into the game, your ability to cut them, and your ability to interact with the environment, that is all just amazing. For a game that was originally going to be cancelled and originally had a lot of negative hype to it, there's not a single part of this game that I can really say is bad. Everything in this game lives up to the potential that I was hoping for. The only thing I can really say is disappointing about this game is the Jetstream DLC. And even then, no one is forcing you to buy it, so it's a really stupid thing to complain about. I feel that any gamer, Metal Gear Solid fan or not, who just wants a great high-octane action-oriented game, should immediately buy this title. It is fast, frantic, and is just amazing to play. I'm honestly about to start my 4th playthrough of this game. Why? Because it's just that fun. Depending on how you play the game itself could be short. A lot of people saying they clocked only like 6 hours on it. But then again, I feel the game is the perfect length for the kind of title it's trying to be. And even with the multiple playthroughs, I am getting much more out of the game than just a simple 6 hours that everyone's saying. So yeah, in a heartbeat, I say, what you need in your life is Metal Gear Rising: Revengence.